more on this. I'm joined by Mr. Sanjay Chadha, legal expert. Mr. Chadha, first up, just wanted to ask that this is very strong comments which have come in from the Guwahati High Court. Chief Justice of the Guwahati High Court, she has said rather that nobody is safe if this sort of an action is allowed. And they are clearly saying that, the police are basically landing up with search warrants and allowing or implementing a bulldozer action on these structures. Now, of course, we've seen this happening in different states and different contexts. But specifically, if we have to speak about this sort of an action, which has become a trend now, is it legally valid? Can this be challenged in court easily? What can somebody do if this sort of an action is being taken by the cops?
Very sad. The answer to your question is such thing is not acceptable in criminal jurisprudence. And I'm not talking about India itself. I'm talking about the world over. It is something which is unheard of. The police has no powers to bulldozer somebody's house, to bulldozer a property in the name of some search, seizure or something like that. Only exception to that is when there is an proper news information that there is something digged out, something is there inside the land out there, some death body is there, something is there, then only they have to dig. And there also they need to have the permission of the court. Police officers, as per the criminal law, cannot themselves even move ahead for any kind of search, if at all. 165 is the section CRPC, 93 is the section CRPC which provides all the rules, etc., which are to be followed when we have to do the search and seizure. And this is unheard across the world, I'm saying. This is
right.
Something...
Mr. Chadha, stay with us. I'm also joined. Right. Stay with us. I'm also joined on the show by Mr. Anurag Naidu, a political analyst. Mr. Naidu, we've seen these kind of incidents taking place, or this sort of police action taking place in several states, several BJP-run states. There is, and in some cases, of course, we've seen that the head of the state, the chief minister himself, actually, in a way, leading this, saying that this is the kind of action which will be taken place against the perpetrators of XYZ crime. Is this the right way to go about it? And isn't there that as the Chief Justice of the Guwahati High Court herself said, that it's unheard of that a search warrant will essentially end up being somebody's house being bulldozed. This is not the law. This is not what the law of our country allows.
No, but although I don't want to disagree outrightly with you, but let me also put this across. Why should we look from a prism of binary and everything? Either it has to be a 0, either it has to be a 1. When you say perpetrators, you need to understand what set of perpetrators are we talking about. If we're talking about a yogi model that somebody was speaking some time back in UP, or if you're talking about the Guwahati bulldozer incident that we see, it is not a generalized perpetrators, or this is not a generalized stuff. There can be many issues. There can be an issue of national security. Now, I appreciate court taking a cognizance of this issue, and court also telling that one cannot allow the system to do this. But if, say, for example, and I'm just telling as an example, if there were an incidents of national security happening under this garb of some illegal constructions or some unauthorized constructions, and then tomorrow if that turns out to be fatal for this country, and there will be the same media who will be questioning the authorities, why did you not go and search, or why did you not go and demolish if it was an illegal construction and something unintentional was going on? So it has to be a balance. But yes, I appreciate.
I don't think media sets the agenda, sir.
No, I'm so sorry.
I don't think media is setting the agenda in these cases, in none of these cases. In none of these cases, media is setting the agenda. This is being decided by the state government.
I'm not saying media was setting an agenda. All I'm saying is it is to the media to show what kind of a story that they want to project. See, every story has two sides. Now, I'm also saying that when Yogi was questioned in UP, he made it very articulately clear that there was a background behind the search operations, or there was a background beyond demolitions. If the government or the authorities are able to explain, yes, there was a background, and yes, they took some deviations. Yes, it's probably in the purview of legal scenario, it is wrong. But if they have a logic which is more connected to taking a speedy action, and I think they're also equally entitled to give a response.
Right. Stay with us, Mr. Naidu. Going back to Mr. Chadha, Mr. Sanjay Chadha, as Mr. Naidu was saying, some would argue that, there needs to be a precedent which needs to be set. There needs to be an example made out of certain cases, he said, for matters of national security. Now, who defines national security? That's, of course, I mean, as I said, like the law has, the IPC sections have. There is an OSA. There are several sections in IPC also. But besides that, if somebody just comes and says that, or the police decides to file an FIR basis someone's complaint matter of national security, let's start dealing with that suspect in such a manner. I mean, what is the recourse that a person can take in such a situation? Because everyone is innocent till proven guilty. That is the standard rule, standard law everywhere across the globe. So what exactly can a person do? The matter will reach the trial court. In time, there will be a process followed. But what can a person do right up there if their house is being bulldozed, their structure is being bulldozed?
With your permission, first of all, I would like to give two clarifications which my friend Naiduji was talking about. I think he's got confused with two things. It's an investigation of criminal case. It's not an investigation of, or it's not a case of illegal construction. What he has said that if there is some illegal construction and in illegal construction, this thing is happening. No, we have to be very, very clear about it. Illegal construction, if there is an illegal construction, there is another way out for that. There is a procedure given, and nobody, whether it is a chief minister or anybody, can go beyond or not to follow the procedure which is there. Now, coming to the main point, if there is a national security or something is there, even then you cannot bulldoze anybody's house. There is a procedure. We have to follow that procedure. And very rightly, it is not some gang war going on. We are not understanding this. It is a we are governed by rule of law. We are staying in a democratic setup. What is this happening? This thing has no place in law. And how can a political analyst or a politician decides that this house has to be demolished? And this, I'm using a very harsh language, I'm sorry to say, but this is, even if an investigation of murder is going on, you cannot demolish a house. This is what is the proposition of law. How can you demolish a house? What is the purpose? How demolition of house is going to help you in investigation? You ask any
Mr.
lawyer
Chadha,
or any
Mr.
person.
Chadha, I'll have to give time. Right, I've taken your point. I have to give time to Mr. Naidu also to come back on this. Mr. Naidu, my last question to you. You've given your justification. We have heard what Mr. Chadha said as a legal expert, as a legal voice. Lastly, there is a danger that the High Court is also pointing out to. The strongest comments which have come out from the High Court will be that they are saying nobody is safe in this country if this is allowed to carry on. Shouldn't there be a more discerning practice taken? As you said, there are matters of national security. I don't think, even I agree with Mr. Chadha over here, though my opinion really doesn't matter in this point in time. I'm just here to moderate the discussion. But even in matters of national security, is this the best way to deal with it? There are already laws, and that has happened in the past as well. There are court proceedings, there is the law, there is police. Police knows what they have to do. Why does this sort of a visual presentation of justice, so-called, have to be put out in front of the people? Isn't there a better way to deal with it? Isn't it a dangerous precedent being set? That's what the High Court is trying to point out.
Of course, there are no two ways that the High Court has been very tough on this, and I am not here to defend the actions of the police, But all I can say is, in today's scenario, the kind of legal system and the kind of legal backlogs, Mr. Chadha is a legal expert, and I think he'll appreciate, understand better. The courts are overloaded, the system is overloaded, the police number of police per population ratio is absolutely poor. In such situation, under the disguise of our existing legal framework, which I strongly feel needs an amendment and needs to be toughened, needs to be tightened, because we always claim to be a liberal country, and the national, anti-national issues and the national security issues have been going on under this carpet, and we know just to punish a terrorist, we take years. So, these things need to be changed. And I'm not advocating what the police has taken action, because the courts have already given their opinion, and we have to respect the court's opinion here. But the matter here is the framework and entire system needs an overhaul. And if in some cases, selectively, if there needs to be an action like this, and I think we should have this precedence, or we should have this thing in our system, that the police or the system should have unstoppable powers to go on with investigations if it is really a matter of that importance, or a matter of very grave concern for the national security and the country.
Right. Mr. Anurag Naidu, Mr. Sanjay K Chadha, both of you, thank you so much for joining us on this very important discussion which we're asking, because a number of states are seeing this sort of a bulldozer justice, quote unquote, being practiced by the cops. Is this a right precedent to be set? Very strong comments by the Guwahati High Court there. Thank you so much for joining us. And with that, we'll slip into a short break. More news and updates continue on the other side. Stay tuned.